Surrounded by the buzz of merchants calling out their wares, a scruffy German shepherd sat quietly in the shadows, his spirit as tattered as his coat. For most, he was invisible, but not to 5-year-old Lily. Her determination to rescue the forlorn dog set off a chain of events that would lead to a journey of healing, discovery, and an unbreakable bond. The sun shone brightly on the bustling town square, casting a golden glow over the rows of stalls brimming with fresh produce, handmade crafts, and local treats. The air buzzed with the sounds of chatter, laughter, and the occasional bark of a dog. It was a typical Saturday morning, and 5-year-old Lily was skipping alongside her mother Sarah, her tiny hands clutching a stuffed bunny she never left home without. "Stay close, sweetheart," Sarah reminded as they navigated through the crowded paths between vendors. Lily's eyes darted around, taking in the colorful displays of fruits, flowers, and trinkets. Suddenly, her skipping stopped. Her gaze locked on a figure tied to a wooden post near a corner stall, a large German shepherd with a matted coat and ribs protruding visibly through his thin frame. He sat slouched, his head hung low, and his brown eyes carried a sadness that pulled at Lily's tender heart. "Mommy, look!" Lily tugged at Sarah's hand, pointing toward the dog. "He's so sad. Can we go see him?" Sarah followed her daughter's gaze and sighed, recognizing that soft, pleading look. Lily had always been sensitive to animals in need, often stopping to pet strays or save bugs stranded on sidewalks. "Okay, sweetie, but be careful," Sarah said gently, guiding Lily closer to the dog. "And stay close to me." As they approached, the dog barely lifted his head. Lily crouched down a few feet away and whispered softly, "Hi there, boy. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." She extended a small hand, palm up, the way Sarah had taught her. The dog's ears twitched slightly at her voice. He sniffed cautiously, his wet nose quivering as he caught her scent. Hesitantly, he leaned forward just enough for his nose to brush her hand. Lily smiled brightly. "See, Mommy? He's not scary. He's just sad." Sarah watched, her heart tugged by the tender moment. "He's very skinny, Lily," she murmured, more to herself. "I wonder who owns him." Nearby, a vendor arranged fruit at his stall, his eyes briefly flicking toward the dog before returning to his work. Lily stood and approached the man, her small voice carrying a determination that belied her age. "Excuse me, sir. Is he your dog?" The vendor barely looked up. "Yeah, he's mine," he said with a shrug. "Not much use, though. Just takes up space." Lily's brows knitted in confusion. "Why is he sad? Doesn't he have a home?" The vendor sighed, clearly uninterested in the conversation. "He's no good. Can't work, can't guard. Nobody wants him." Lily's heart sank. She glanced back at the dog, who now watched her with wary eyes, his tail giving a faint wag as if holding on to a shred of hope. "Can I pet him?" she asked, her voice quivering. "Go ahead," the vendor said dismissively. "Not like he bites." Lily returned to the dog and knelt beside him. "Hi, Max," she whispered, deciding on a name that felt right. She gently stroked his dirty, tangled fur, and to her surprise, the dog leaned into her touch. His tail wagged a little more, a small but significant gesture. "You're not useless," Lily said softly, her voice filled with conviction. "You're just waiting for someone to love you." Sarah stood nearby, watching the interaction with a mix of pride and concern. "Come on, Lily," she said after a while. "We should keep moving. We don't want to bother the man." "But Mommy," Lily pleaded, her big eyes brimming with tears. "He needs our help. We can't just leave him like this." Sarah crouched to her daughter's level. "I know, sweetie, but rescuing a dog is a big responsibility. He looks like he's been through a lot." Lily nodded solemnly, her small hand still resting on Max's head. "I'll help him, Mommy. I promise. Please. Can we save him?" Sarah hesitated, torn between practicality and the earnestness of her daughter's plea. "Let's talk to Daddy about it, okay? We'll see what we can do." Lily nodded, though her heart ached at the thought of leaving Max behind. "Don't worry," she whispered to the dog. "I'll come back for you. I promise." As they walked away, Max watched them go, his tail sinking back to the ground. But something had shifted in his gaze, a flicker of hope that hadn't been there before. That night, as Lily lay in bed clutching her stuffed bunny, She whispered a silent promise to herself. She didn't know how, but she was determined to bring Max home. Little did she know, this chance encounter would change both their lives forever. The days that followed were filled with anticipation for 5-year-old Lily. Every Saturday morning, she accompanied her parents to the bustling market, her heart set on visiting Max. Each visit strengthened her bond with the scruffy German shepherd tied to the vendor's stall. She would crouch beside him, speaking softly, feeding him scraps of food she had saved from breakfast and gently stroking his matted fur. Max's wary eyes began to soften, and his tail would wag faintly whenever he saw her approach. Sarah and Daniel, her father, watched their daughter's unwavering dedication with a mix of admiration and concern. Max was clearly in poor health, his ribs visible and his coat dull and tangled. He flinched at sudden movements and loud noises, signs of a traumatic past. Yet, whenever Lily was near, he seemed to find a rare calmness. One evening, after Lily had gone to bed, Sarah and Daniel sat in the kitchen discussing Max. "She's so attached to him," Sarah said, stirring her tea. "I don't think I've ever seen her this determined about anything." Daniel nodded thoughtfully. "I've noticed. It's incredible how he responds to her. But adopting him won't be easy. He's clearly been through a lot, and it'll take a lot of work to rehabilitate him." Sarah sighed. "I know. But if anyone can give him the love and patience he needs, it's Lily. Maybe we should give him a chance." Daniel leaned back in his chair. "If we do this, we need to be all in. Vet visits, training, the works. He's going to need more than just love." Sarah smiled, sensing that her husband's heart was already leaning toward the decision. "Then let's talk to the vendor this weekend." The following Saturday, Lily's excitement was palpable as they approached the market. She skipped ahead, her eyes scanning the rows of stalls until she spotted Max. "There he is!" she cried, running toward him. Max's tail wagged slowly at the sight of her, and he let out a soft whine as she knelt to pet him. "Hi, Max," she whispered. "I told you I'd come back." Sarah and Daniel approached the vendor, who was stacking crates of fruit. "Excuse me," Daniel began. "We'd like to talk to you about the dog." The vendor looked up, his expression indifferent. "What about him?" "We're interested in taking him home," Sarah said. "How much would you want for him?" The man shrugged. "He's no good to me. Eats more than he's worth. If you want him, take him. Saves me the trouble of finding someone else." Sarah and Daniel exchanged a glance, surprised at the man's dismissiveness. "Are you sure?" Daniel asked. "We don't want to take him without fair compensation." The vendor waved them off. "I don't care. Just get him out of here." Lily's eyes widened with joy as she overheard the conversation. "Does this mean we can take him home?" she asked, her voice trembling with excitement. Sarah crouched down to her daughter's level. "Yes, sweetheart. Max is coming home with us." Lily's face lit up as she turned to Max. "Did you hear that, Max? You're coming home." Daniel carefully unhooked the chain from the post while Lily stroked Max's head, speaking to him in soothing tones. The dog hesitated for a moment, as if unsure of what was happening, but Lily's gentle encouragement seemed to reassure him. Slowly he followed her to the family's car. The ride home was quiet but filled with emotion. Max sat in the back seat beside Lily, his head resting on her lap. She stroked his fur gently, whispering, "You're safe now, Max. You don't have to be scared anymore." Sarah glanced at them in the rear-view mirror, her heart swelling at the sight of the connection between her daughter and the dog. "We'll take him to the vet first thing tomorrow," she said to Daniel. "He'll need a thorough checkup." Daniel nodded. "And some proper food. No more scraps." When they arrived home, Lily led Max inside, her tiny hand holding his leash. "Welcome home, Max," she said softly. She showed him around the house, introducing him to every room. "This is the kitchen," she explained, "and this is the living room. You can sit on the rug if you want." Max sniffed cautiously, his movements slow and deliberate. He seemed overwhelmed by the new environment, but Lily stayed by his side, offering words of encouragement. "It's okay," she whispered. "This is your home now." That night, as the family sat together in the living room, Max lay on a soft blanket near Lily's feet. He still flinched at sudden noises, like the clatter of a dish or the creak of a door, but he didn't retreat to a corner. Instead, he stayed close to Lily, his eyes watching her every move. Daniel observed the scene and smiled. "He's already bonded with her," he said to Sarah. Sarah nodded. "It's incredible. I think she sees something in him that we don't." As the evening wore on, Max began to relax. He let out a deep sigh and rested his head on his paws, his eyes half closing. Lily knelt beside him, brushing her fingers gently through his fur. "Good night, Max," she whispered. "I'm so glad you're here." For the first time in what seemed like forever, Max felt a sense of safety. It was a new beginning, not just for him but for the entire family. Little did they know, this was just the start of an extraordinary journey that would change all their lives forever. Max's transition into his new home was far from smooth. The once vibrant dog Lily had imagined was still hidden beneath layers of fear and trauma. He cowered in corners, flinched at sudden movements, and avoided eye contact with anyone except Lily. Loud noises, like the clatter of dishes or the television turning on, sent him scurrying to the furthest corner of the house. His nervous energy hung heavy in the air, making the family realize the enormity of the task they had taken on. Lily, however, was undeterred. Every moment she could, she spent by Max's side. She would sit cross-legged on the floor near him, reading picture books aloud or quietly humming songs. "It's okay, Max," she would say gently, her small hand extended toward him. "You're safe now. Nobody's going to hurt you." At first, Max would watch her warily, his ears flicking nervously at every sound. But over time, Lily's calm presence began to soothe him. He inched closer during their quiet moments together and even rested his head on her lap one afternoon while she read him a story about brave knights and loyal dogs. The family quickly realized that Max needed more than love and patience. He needed professional help. Sarah reached out to Dr. Olivia Grant, a well-known animal behaviorist in the area who specialized in working with traumatized dogs. After hearing their story, Dr. Grant agreed to visit their home to observe Max in his new environment. When Dr. Grant arrived, Max's reaction was immediate. He darted to the corner of the living room and crouched low, his tail tucked tightly between his legs. "He's carrying a lot of emotional baggage," Dr. Grant said thoughtfully as she watched him from a distance. "His behavior suggests he's been through significant trauma. The fact that he's bonded with Lily is a good sign, though. It shows he's capable of trust, even if it's limited for now." Dr. Grant spent hours observing Max's behavior, asking the family questions about his habits and reactions. By the end of the visit, she developed a plan for his rehabilitation. "This will take time," she warned. "You'll need to be patient and consistent. Focus on positive reinforcement. Reward him for calm behavior and small victories. Avoid anything that might overwhelm or scare him." She left them with a list of exercises and routines, including gradual exposure to new experiences and objects, always paired with treats and encouraging words. Most importantly, she emphasized that the family needed to let Max set the pace. The first few weeks of training were challenging. Max seemed resistant to change, clinging to his corner of the house and refusing to engage with anyone but Lily. Even small steps, like introducing him to a new toy or getting him to take a walk in the yard, were met with hesitation. But Lily never gave up. Armed with a bag of treats and endless patience, she followed Dr. Grant's advice to the letter. She crouched at Max's level, offering him a treat every time he took a step toward her or allowed her to approach. Slowly but surely, Max began to respond. One day, as Lily was sitting in the yard tossing a ball back and forth in front of Max, he did something extraordinary. He stood up, patted over, and nudged the ball with his nose. Lily gasped in delight and quickly rewarded him with a treat and a heartfelt, "Good boy, Max!" It was a small moment, but it felt monumental. Sarah and Daniel watched from the porch, their hearts swelling with pride and relief. "He's making progress," Daniel said, his voice tinged with emotion. "It's slow, but it's happening." As the weeks turned into months, the family began to see more glimpses of the dog Max could become. He started following Lily around the house, his tail wagging faintly whenever she spoke to him. He began to approach Sarah and Daniel cautiously, even allowing them to pet him briefly before retreating to his safe space. One sunny afternoon, while playing in the yard, Max brought a ball to Lily for the first time. His tail wagged energetically as he dropped it at her feet, looking up at her expectantly. "You want to play?" Lily asked, her voice filled with excitement. She picked up the ball and threw it gently. Max darted after it with surprising speed, barking happily as he retrieved it and brought it back. They played for nearly an hour, and by the time they were done, Max was panting happily, his tongue lolling out as he lay in the grass beside Lily. From the porch, Sarah wiped away a tear. "This is the first time I've seen him truly happy," she said to Daniel. "I think he's starting to feel like he belongs." Despite the progress, there were still setbacks. Max occasionally growled or snapped when he felt cornered, especially if an adult approached him too quickly. These moments reminded the family of how much trauma he had endured and how much work still lay ahead. But they never wavered in their commitment to him. Max's trust in Lily remained unshakable. One night, during a thunderstorm, the family was awakened by a loud crash of thunder. Sarah and Daniel found Lily sitting on the floor of her room with Max curled up beside her. "He's scared," she explained, stroking his fur, "but I told him I'd stay with him until it's over." Daniel knelt beside them, placing a reassuring hand on Max's back. "You're a brave dog, Max," he said softly. "And you're safe here." Max looked up at Daniel, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and trust. It was a moment of connection that gave the family hope for the future. It was a bright, breezy afternoon, and Lily was outside in the yard, her laughter ringing through the air as she played fetch with Max. His progress had been remarkable over the past months, and his tail wagged energetically as he bounded after the ball, his body moving with a freedom and joy that the family had never seen before. Sarah and Daniel watched from the porch, sipping iced tea and marveling at how far Max had come. "He's a completely different dog," Sarah said, her voice filled with pride. Daniel nodded. "It's amazing what a little love and patience can do." But what happened next would solidify Max's place in the family's heart forever. Lily threw the ball again, and Max sprinted after it with a happy bark. Suddenly, a sharp noise shattered the peaceful afternoon, a car engine revving loudly down the street. The sound startled both Max and Lily, but the ball had rolled out of the yard, landing on the edge of the road. "Max, wait!" Lily called as she ran after him, her small legs moving quickly toward the street. She was too focused on retrieving the ball to notice the approaching car speeding down the road. Sarah and Daniel's hearts leapt into their throats as they saw what was happening. "Lily, stop!" Sarah screamed, jumping to her feet. The car was approaching too fast, its engine roaring as the driver failed to see the small girl in its path. For a split second, it felt as though time slowed. Lily was mere steps from the road when Max, sensing the danger, sprang into action. With incredible speed, Max dashed toward Lily, his powerful legs propelling him forward like a blur. As the car closed in, Max leapt at Lily, knocking her to the side just in time. The car screeched to a halt, the driver's face pale with shock as the vehicle barely missed them. Lily landed on the grass, dazed but unharmed. Max stood over her, his body tense and his eyes fixed on the car as if daring it to come closer. He nuzzled her gently, licking her face as if to reassure her. Lily, still clutching the ball, threw her arms around his neck. "It's okay, Max," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You saved me." Sarah and Daniel rushed to their daughter's side, their faces pale with fear and relief. Sarah knelt down, pulling Lily into a tight embrace while Daniel placed a shaking hand on Max's head. "Good boy, Max," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You're a hero." The family sat together on the porch that evening, still shaken by the close call. Lily was wrapped in a blanket, her head resting against Max's side. The dog stayed alert, his ears twitching at every sound as if still on guard. "I don't know what we would have done without him," Sarah said quietly, stroking Max's fur. "He's not just a rescue anymore. He's part of the family." Daniel nodded. "He's more than that. He's a protector. He'd do anything for Lily." Lily looked up at her parents, her voice soft but resolute. "I always knew Max was special. He's my best friend." From that day on, Max's place in the family was cemented. His courageous act changed how Sarah and Daniel saw him. He was no longer the frightened, neglected dog they had brought home from the market. He was their loyal guardian, their brave companion, and a cherished member of their family. Max's bond with Lily grew even stronger after the incident. He rarely left her side, following her around the house and watching over her as she played. His confidence grew, and his behavior became more consistent. The trauma of his past seemed to fade with each passing day, replaced by the love and security he had found with his new family. One evening as they sat around the dinner table, Daniel brought up an idea. "You know, Max's instincts and intelligence are remarkable. Maybe we should explore some training to see what he's capable of. He could really thrive in the right setting." Lily's eyes lit up. "Can we, Mommy? I think Max would love it." Sarah smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's face. "We'll look into it. If Max is up for it, it could be a great way to keep building his confidence." The family didn't know it yet, but this moment would lead to the discovery of a hidden talent that would take Max and Lily on an entirely new adventure. Max had gone from a neglected and timid dog to a loyal protector, willing to risk everything for the family that had given him a second chance. His bravery had not only saved Lily's life, but also deepened the love and gratitude they all felt for him. And as they looked ahead, they knew Max's journey was just beginning. The sun was shining brightly as the family made their way to the annual spring pet fair held at the local park. Booths lined the pathways, offering pet treats, accessories, and training demonstrations. The air was filled with excited barks, laughter, and the scent of freshly baked dog biscuits. Lily clutched Max's leash tightly, her small face glowing with excitement. "Mommy, look at all the dogs," she exclaimed, pointing toward a group of golden retrievers performing tricks in a corner of the fair. Sarah smiled and glanced down at Max, who was taking in the bustling scene with surprising calmness. "Let's see how Max does in a place like this," she said to Daniel. "It's a big step for him." As they strolled through the fair, they came across an agility demonstration. A small crowd had gathered to watch as dogs weaved through poles, leaped over hurdles, and dashed through tunnels. Lily's eyes widened as she took in the scene. "Mommy, can Max try?" she asked, tugging on Sarah's sleeve. Sarah hesitated, looking at Max. "Do you think he's ready?" she asked Daniel. "He's come a long way," Daniel replied. "It wouldn't hurt to let him give it a try." With encouragement from the family, Lily approached the instructor, a kind-looking woman named Rachel who specialized in canine agility. Rachel knelt to Max's level, observing his calm demeanor and alert eyes. "He seems like a good boy," she said with a smile. "Let's see what he's got." Rachel guided the family to the starting line of the agility course. The setup included jumps, weaving poles, and tunnels, all designed to test a dog's speed, coordination, and focus. "Take it slow," Rachel instructed. "This is just for fun, so no pressure." Lily knelt beside Max, gently stroking his fur. "You can do this, Max," she whispered. "I believe in you." Max's ears perked up as if understanding her words. His tail wagged slightly, and he stood tall, ready to follow her lead. The moment Rachel signaled for them to begin, Max took off with surprising speed. He bounded over the first hurdle effortlessly, his lean body moving with grace and determination. The crowd murmured in surprise as he navigated the weaving poles with precision, his tail wagging as he reached the end. Lily cheered, clapping her hands as Max approached the tunnel. He hesitated for a split second, glancing back at her for reassurance. "Go, Max!" Lily called, her voice filled with encouragement. With a burst of confidence, Max dashed through the tunnel, emerging on the other side to a round of applause from the onlookers. He raced back to Lily, who knelt down to hug him tightly. "You're amazing, Max!" she exclaimed. Rachel approached the family, visibly impressed. "He's a natural," she said. "Have you ever considered agility training? Max has the instincts and athleticism to excel." Lily looked up at her parents with hopeful eyes. "Can we, please?" Sarah and Daniel exchanged a smile. "Let's give it a shot," Sarah said. "If Max enjoys it, we'll see how far he can go." In the weeks that followed, the family enrolled Max in a local agility training program. The sessions were challenging but rewarding, and Max quickly became the star pupil. He mastered each obstacle with ease, his confidence growing with every session. Lily accompanied him to every practice, cheering him on and celebrating each victory. Max's transformation was nothing short of miraculous. The once neglected dog, who had flinched at every sound and avoided human contact, was now thriving. His bond with Lily deepened as they worked together, their partnership built on trust, love, and mutual support. One sunny afternoon, the family attended their first official agility competition. The atmosphere was electric, with dogs and handlers from all over the region competing. Lily and Max waited nervously for their turn, watching as other dogs completed the course. When their names were called, Lily took a deep breath and led Max to the starting line. The crowd fell silent as they prepared to begin. "You can do this, Max," Lily whispered, giving him a reassuring pat. At the signal, Max took off like a rocket. He soared over the hurdles, weaved through the poles with precision, and charged through the tunnel with unwavering focus. The audience erupted into cheers as Max crossed the finish line, his tail wagging furiously. The judges were impressed, and Max received a special ribbon for his performance. Lily beamed with pride as she hugged her beloved dog, holding the ribbon high for all to see. "That was incredible," Sarah said, wiping away a tear. "I can't believe how far he's come." Daniel nodded, his voice full of admiration. "He's not just a dog, he's a champion." That evening, as the family gathered at home, Lily placed Max's ribbon on the mantelpiece. "You're my hero, Max," she said, kissing his head. Max curled up at Lily's feet, his eyes filled with contentment. He had found his purpose, his family, and his place in the world. Together, they were unstoppable. The joyful days of training and competition seemed to cement Max's place in the family. His transformation from a neglected dog to a champion brought immense pride to Lily and her parents, Sarah and Daniel. However, their happiness was soon overshadowed by a dark cloud that loomed unexpectedly. One crisp Saturday morning, the family was at the park for Max's training session. Lily held Max's leash as they walked toward the agility course, her face beaming with excitement. The familiar sound of barking dogs and friendly chatter filled the air. Max, alert and relaxed, seemed eager for another round of practice. As they neared the course, Sarah noticed a man standing in the distance, watching them intently. His figure was vaguely familiar, and her heart sank as she recognized the vendor from the market, the man who had neglected Max. "Daniel," Sarah whispered, nudging her husband and nodding toward the man. "It's him." Daniel frowned. "Stay close to Lily," he said firmly, stepping slightly ahead to shield them. The man approached slowly, his face shadowed by a baseball cap. When he got closer, his expression hardened. "So that's where my dog ended up," he said coldly, his eyes fixed on Max. Lily instinctively tightened her grip on Max's leash, sensing the tension. "He's not your dog," she said, her voice trembling but resolute. "He's mine now," the man sneered. "He was mine first. You had no right to take him." Sarah stepped forward, her tone calm but firm. "You abandoned him. He was neglected, malnourished, and chained up when we found him. You clearly didn't care for him." The man's eyes narrowed. "I didn't give you permission to take him. That makes it theft." Lily, emboldened by her mother's stance, spoke up again. "Max deserves better than you. He's happy with us." The man's voice rose, drawing the attention of nearby park-goers. "You think you can keep him just because you fed him? I'll go to the authorities if I have to." Daniel stepped between the man and his family. "Do that, and we'll show them the vet records, the photos, and every piece of evidence we have of your neglect. You won't win." For a moment the man seemed to falter, his confidence shaken. But then he spat. "We'll see about that," before turning and walking away, muttering under his breath. That evening the family gathered around the dining table, the mood tense. Lily picked at her food, her usual cheer replaced with worry. "Mommy, he won't take Max away, will he?" she asked, her voice small. Sarah leaned over and placed a reassuring hand on Lily's shoulder. "No, sweetheart, we won't let that happen. Max is part of our family now, and we'll do everything we can to protect him." The following day, Sarah and Daniel consulted a lawyer, Ms. Rebecca Carter, who specialized in animal rights cases. They shared Max's story and provided documentation, including photos of his initial condition, veterinary records showing his recovery, and testimonials from neighbors and trainers who had witnessed his transformation. Ms. Carter nodded as she reviewed the evidence. "You have a strong case," she said. "The key will be proving that Max was neglected and that you've provided him with a better life. His previous owner's actions or lack thereof will work in your favor." Lily, who had been quietly listening, suddenly spoke up. "Can I write a letter about Max? I want to tell the judge how much he means to me." Ms. Carter smiled. "That's a wonderful idea. Your letter could show just how much love and care Max has received from your family. Over the next few weeks, the family prepared for the upcoming court hearing. Sarah and Daniel gathered all the evidence they could, while Lily poured her heart into her letter. In her neat, childlike handwriting, she described how Max had saved her life and brought joy to their home. "Max isn't just a dog," she wrote. "He's my best friend and my hero. Please don't let anyone take him away from me." The day of the hearing arrived. The courtroom buzzed with quiet conversation as the family entered, Max's leash held tightly in Lily's hands. The vendor was already there, his expression smug as he glanced at them. The judge, an older woman with kind but sharp eyes, called the session to order. Ms. Carter presented the family's case with confidence, highlighting Max's transformation and the love and care he had received. She showed the court photographs of Max's poor condition when he was found and his glowing health now. Testimonials from the veterinarian, the agility trainer, and even neighbors were read aloud. Finally, Ms. Carter held up Lily's letter. "Your Honor," she said, "this letter, written by a 5-year-old girl, speaks volumes about the bond between Max and this family. If I may, I'd like to read it aloud." The courtroom grew silent as Ms. Carter read Lily's heartfelt words. By the time she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Even the judge appeared moved as she glanced down at Max, who sat calmly at Lily's side. When it was the vendor's turn to speak, his arguments fell flat. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and his demeanor did little to help his case. The judge's decision was swift and clear. "The evidence presented shows that Max was severely neglected under your care," she said, addressing the vendor. "It is evident that this family has provided him with a loving and safe environment. Therefore, I rule in favor of the Smith family. Max will remain with them permanently." Relief and joy washed over the family as the ruling was announced. Lily hugged Max tightly, her tears of happiness soaking into his fur. "You're safe, Max," she whispered. "You're staying with us forever." The vendor stormed out of the courtroom, his threats and arrogance silenced. The Smiths, surrounded by their lawyer and supporters, left with their heads held high. That evening, back at home, Lily placed a shiny new tag on Max's collar. It read, "Max, loved forever." As the family gathered in the living room, Max curled up at Lily's feet, his eyes reflecting the contentment of knowing he was finally home. Together, they had faced a challenge that had tested their bond, and together, they had triumphed. The courtroom had been the battleground where Max's fate was decided, but the family's journey didn't end there. The ruling not only solidified Max's place with the Smiths, but also ignited a larger movement within their community. Max's story of neglect, rescue, and transformation resonated with people far and wide, inspiring a wave of compassion and action. The day after the court ruling, the Smith family received an outpouring of support from neighbors and friends. Cards, flowers, and letters of congratulations filled their home. One card, written by a local animal rescue volunteer, read, "Max's story reminds us all of the power of love and determination. Thank you for standing up for him." Word spread quickly through town, and soon, local organizations reached out to collaborate with the family. An animal rights group invited them to participate in a campaign to raise awareness about the importance of adopting and caring for neglected animals. The Smiths agreed, eager to turn their personal battle into a force for good. Max continued to thrive under the Smiths' care. His agility training sessions became a weekly highlight, with Lily proudly leading him through courses at the local park. His confidence soared, and his once cautious demeanor was replaced with a bold, joyful personality. The same dog who had once cowered at sudden movements now wagged his tail enthusiastically at strangers and played fetch with boundless energy. Max's story drew attention from local media. A journalist visited their home to interview Lily, Sarah, and Daniel for a feature titled, "From Neglect to Hero, The Journey of Max." During the interview, Lily spoke passionately about how Max had not only changed his life but also hers. "Max showed me what it means to never give up," Lily said, her small hand resting on his head. "He's more than my dog. He's my best friend." The culmination of Max's story came when the community organized a pet fair to celebrate local rescue animals. The event was held at the town park, where Max's agility training had first impressed the crowd. Lily and Max were invited to be special guests and share their story. The park buzzed with excitement as families brought their pets to enjoy the festivities. Booths offered pet adoptions, grooming services, and free veterinary checkups. A central stage had been set up for speeches and demonstrations. When it was time for Lily and Max to take the stage, a hush fell over the crowd. Lily, holding Max's leash, stepped up with her parents by her side. She glanced at Max, who stood confidently beside her, his tail wagging. "Hi, everyone," Lily began, her voice clear but slightly nervous. "This is Max. I met him at the market where he was lonely and sad. I knew he needed a family, and now he's part of ours." The crowd applauded warmly as Lily continued. "Max taught me that love and patience can heal even the deepest hurts. I hope his story inspires everyone to help animals who need it. They deserve to be loved, just like Max." The audience erupted in cheers and applause. Tears glistened in many eyes as they listened to the heartfelt words of a 5-year-old girl who had changed the life of a neglected dog. In the weeks that followed, Lily and her family became advocates for animal welfare. They collaborated with local shelters to organize adoption drives, using Max's story to encourage others to open their homes to animals in need. They also worked with the town council to pass stricter regulations on animal neglect and abuse, ensuring that cases like Max's would be addressed more seriously. Lily and Max continued their agility training, entering competitions where they often placed among the top contenders. Max's trophies and ribbons lined a shelf in their living room, but the greatest reward was the bond they shared. One sunny Saturday, the Smith family unveiled a new initiative at the town park, Max's Fund for Rescues. The fund was designed to support local shelters, provide medical care for abused animals, and train volunteers in rehabilitation techniques. The community rallied behind the cause and donations poured in. Lily stood by the booth, helping her parents distribute flyers and talk to visitors. Max sat beside her, his tongue lolling happily as children petted him. For Lily, this was a dream come true, not just for Max but for all the animals whose lives would be saved because of him. As the sun set on the fair, Lily and Max took a quiet moment together under a tree. She wrapped her arms around his neck, burying her face in his fur. "We did it, Max," she whispered. "We showed everyone how amazing you are." Max licked her cheek in response, his gentle brown eyes filled with trust and love. Back at home that evening, the Smiths gathered around the fireplace. Lily placed a new photo on the mantel, one of her and Max at the fair, surrounded by smiling supporters. Beneath it was a plaque that read, "Max, a hero's journey." The story of Max and Lily didn't just end with a happy family. It inspired a movement. Their bond became a testament to the resilience of the human-animal connection and the transformative power of compassion. Years later, as Lily grew, Max remained by her side, a constant source of love and loyalty. Together, they continued to spread the message that every life, no matter how broken, deserves a chance to be whole again. This heartwarming story teaches us that every being deserves a chance to be loved, and with compassion and commitment, we can create brighter futures for even the most broken spirits. Let Max's journey inspire you to make a difference, whether for an animal in need or someone seeking a helping hand. If you were moved by Max and Lily's story, don't forget to like this video and hit the subscribe button. Join us to hear more stories that celebrate the incredible bonds between people and animals. Together, let's spread kindness and inspire change. Thank you for watching.